Hello, and welcome to another amazing episode of TMC, where we are here to help you take your relationship from surviving to thriving. While you're joining us today, go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. Anya Vasquez is joining us on TMC.
My name is Anya Vasquez, and I am actually from Slovenia, which is a very small country in Europe. But for the past 10 years, I have been living in the Dominican Republic, so the Caribbean. I am married. I have two beautiful children. Of course, they're beautiful, right? Everybody says that. And I am an energy relationship coach. And I'm very passionate about helping people going from survival to thriving mode, especially in relationship, because if you do have that peace and happiness established at home, then you know there's nothing you can't do. In survival mode, the majority of them, they just settle for what they have. So like settle, and then we like to compare ourselves to whoever we know, either your parents or friends or whatnot. And then you say, okay, well, a little bit better than that, or at least he's not cheating, or at least a little bit, and then you kind of compromise with what you have, and you just kind of stay stagnant. And the clients that I usually work with, it's somebody who's been in a relationship for a very long time, and they see that the relationship has downgraded because life took its part. Right. If I can make it fairy tale like, how to keep that honeymoon phase throughout your life.
Awesome.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's basically what I really, really focus on, and and help people understand that whatever it is that they want in relationship, it's possible. It is possible. Absolutely. But there's got to be work done.
Absolutely. And I remember I reviewed your bio, and that's what jumped out to me, taking relationships from surviving to thriving, because I never met you before, but that's also our tagline for what we do as the Marriage Coach Podcast. Absolutely. We are destined to take marriages from surviving to thriving. And I agree with you 100% that, it's just getting in that little groove where we just kind of like, I'll go with this. And so we want to help people to learn some tools and learn some things that they can do to understand that you're the captain of your ship. You Exactly. Get to manifest what it is that you believe. If you believe that you can have a great marriage and you do the work, or you believe you can have a great relationship and you do the work, then that's what it'll produce. And we can live the honeymoon throughout our marriage. And that was very encouraging to me. And it was one of the reasons why we wanted to talk to you, because we want to get more and more people to share with the world that you can have a relationship where the honeymoon continues. So with that being said, I want to ask a question. What is the first thing that you tell the people that you work with? If one of the first steps you tell them that they can start doing right away?
Stop pointing fingers.
That's good. Yeah.
That's like my number one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because everything starts with you. Everything. And I always say, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
Yes.
So taking that responsibility, my ex-husband taught me, it always takes two rings to make noise.
Yeah.
So whatever the situation is like, you have something you've put there that made that happen. Right. So now you need to find out what that was, and you get the proper knowledge and the tools to not do that, and start preventing and healing the relationship.
You stated that you're on your second marriage, and even you said it takes two. So looking at yourself then and now, what is the greatest lesson that you learned then that you're applying into your second marriage?
Oh, wow. Okay. One, there's so many, right? But one, I would say that something that is a constant, on a daily basis that I need to remind myself is how less emotionally involved I have to be in my husband. So what does that mean is, when he has a bad day or when he looks at me weirdly or when he comes from home and he does like weird moment and I'm like, already judging what's happening or what's the attitude or what's the energy or whatever,
Right.
that, women especially will love to grab it and then we just start bawling with that and have no idea what's happening at the end.
Mm.
So being constantly aware that whatever's happening in his world, that firstly I don't know the whole picture, that I always have to pause myself, take a step back. Okay, let me try to figure it out. If he's gonna even share with me, well, and I'll know his part of the story. But if he doesn't, that it actually has nothing to do with me,
Wow.
and it should not change me as me. It should not change my happiness or my perspective or my attitude or everything that I do in that day because he's doing something in his own world. Like, we're two separate people,
Mhm.
and knowing that we don't need to clinch on each other and bounce that negative energy of each other. But everybody has bad days. So when I know that he has a bad day, I got to be the stronger one
Mm.
and hold it up, or vice
Absolutely.
versa.
Wow, that's great. That's great. And that, from what I hear you saying, that sounds like that you're taking power and charge over controlling your emotions. So
Yeah.
that's the greatest thing we
Oh,
can do.
yeah.
Control our emotions and be mindful of the way
Mhm.
we don't take on when something is going on in our significant other's world. We don't take it on personally. We
Exactly.
understand that they're a human being and they may have had a bad day at work or they may have not be feeling well, but we don't
Yeah.
take every little thing on
Exactly.
personally.
Women are very emotional, right?
Absolutely.
But so many times we don't even know why we're emotional or what's the real thing, what's real happening, like what's really happening, right? So we don't even know what we want or what we're expecting or what is the emotions that's happening. So then we try to communicate that to our partner, who the firstly he's not even on that same level of whatever women are feeling, and then you come across all confused. So it of course completely confuses the guy. So it actually comes to that individuality of not being authentic with yourself,
Mm.
that we are always trying to fit in some boxes,
Mhm.
in some norms. And because we are not our authentic selves, it like sometimes it comes out and then it doesn't come out, and then you're trying to fit the box, and then it comes out and then you try to fit the box. So it's like you're all over the place and nobody really knows what's happening. And of course, then when it comes to communication, then it's just a big bowl of soup. Like a
Wow.
lot of mixture. So yeah, I think that's the starting, and then everything else I think is just on top of that.
So what you're saying is that the majority of our challenges and for couples starts with the fact that we're not being authentic with ourselves. We're not
Yeah.
being who we fully are. And we're when we and I think I agree, we do that a lot. We want to fit into the societal norms. We want our relationships to fit into the societal norms. I remember that and they still use it. They have this hashtag relationship goals, and you look at someone else's relationship or someone
Uh-huh.
else's marriage and you're like, oh, the mindset is like, I want to be like that,
Mm-hmm.
instead of thinking that I just want to have a great relationship. Whatever we have, I want what we have to be great. And so I have to be authentic with myself, and you are authentic in yourself. And as a couple, as a unit, then we can be authentically together. We can be happy, because therefore we will understand, pretty much jumping back to what you said, that you might have your good days, you might have your bad days, you have your strengths, you have your weaknesses, I have mine, and we are understanding of that with each other. But when we're authentic with ourselves, we understand us first and then have the ability to understand the other person, so that we can have an authentic relationship, because we're being two authentic people.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, and not looking at the society for what,
Exactly.
even for, I think also, and this is something you said, and we can speak for this as women because we are women, that sometimes we can find ourselves where we may feel a certain way about our relationship because of what we see in society, what you see that's being displayed before you, that you believe someone else has, and you think that you don't have or you don't possess. And so therefore looking at that or comparing yourself to that, like you said earlier, comparing yourself to that puts you in that space that creates all these other challenges. Why can't you be like her husband? Why can't you be like his wife? Why can't you do it like them? Or why can't we be like them? And so
Exactly.
that puts us in that space where we can't authentically be happy because we're trying to live out someone else's life, but we're trying to live it out in our relationship.
Yes.
I think that's really great for what you just said, because you said something, I wrote it down. You said, don't know why, emotions and don't know why. And I think that's very important, for us to be self-aware, to know
Yes.
why you are the way you are, why you feel the way you feel. So
Exactly.
that's great information. That's really good, and something for the listeners to really listen to really stop and really know why you feel the way you feel.
Absolutely. And know who you
Yes.
are as an individual. So we're talking about making the shift in relationships, helping someone make the shift to go from surviving to thriving. So if you could, let's talk about a couple of key components. What do you believe are some key components to shifting a relationship from surviving to thriving?
I would say this. Firstly, work on yourself. Like life
Mm,
is constant growth. Like the only constant thing in life is change.
Mm.
So when we're like, we are born in, oh, we go to school, we do this, and now I'm done learning. And this is
mm,
the biggest
mm.
that
Yeah.
was invented in our, life,
Yeah.
because then you go out of school and then you forget, you don't learn stuff. And not, don't get me started on education, but right, but it's we start stagnating, and there's no progress. And in a relationship, the worst thing, like, you come together, you are the way you are, but that's just the beginning.
Yes.
And you change and you evolve, and you need to evolve as a person, and you need to evolve with your person.
Mm.
So
Wow.
focusing on yourself firstly is number one thing. Like, I believe that right now we are in the age where people are really waking up, and yeah, self-improvement. I need to find more knowledge about self. So there's a lot of it. I believe in 10 years from now, everybody's going to be doing it. Yes, for a fact, because I know right now, I like, when people don't do that, I'm like, where are you? Like, what's
Right.
happening? Like, I don't even understand that this is still happening. But so this is one. And then, how to have your connection, and we can call it connection to energy, we can call it connection to God, whatever you want to put it, but have that peace 24/7.
Mm.
Like, okay, for any, listeners who are religious, like, when you go to a sacred place, like, how do you feel there? When you
Absolutely.
talk to this, people that make you feel like that, how do you feel? Now take this feeling and have it with you 24/7. Whatever all, crazy stuff is happening around you, have that. So that's the difficult part. So through meditation, I basically teach them, because, when things are easy, it's easy to be good and happy and satisfied. But when things are not easy, then it really shows up, what are you made of? So learning through meditation, I kind of connect people with, the higher source of understanding, that even though whatever happens, you are going to be fine. Like we have challenges that move us and change us, but if you are peaceful through this process, you find solutions faster.
Mm.
So
Wow.
something that I teach, again, we're back to that energy, understanding this, because I used to live in China and I worked with Chinese traditional medicine. And what I also teach my clients is understanding that whatever you do throughout the day, it ultimately manifests in on your physical body. So
Mm.
I
Mm.
can be here preaching about, relationship or money or business or whatever, but ultimately it comes down to health.
Yeah.
If you, completely mess your health in your life, then nobody's going to care about those millions or the company or whatever kind of
Mhm.
relationship you're in, because you're going to be dealing with, I don't know, cancer, or I
Yeah.
got God knows what.
Mhm.
Right. So the thing is that we are already going towards that level. Like, majority of people, finances and business don't understand. And then majority of people already have messed up relationships. So now it's going to be more powerful to hit the physical aspect of our reality. And many people need that to wake up, because we've all heard those stories, how I was sick and then something happened and I got well and then I changed my life and right that, right? So let's do that before getting that lesson.
Yes.
If you are truly and fully constantly connected to God, you always have solution to whatever problem. You always have the unconditional love. You always have peace. And when you react with peace, when you react from that unconditional love, you have solutions, you have the wisdom, you have the sixth sense and the, intuitive whatever, because everything actually is already given to you.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
that's good. That's good. You said something about the individual, working on themselves and changing. So what do someone do? Because someone may be asking the question like, okay, I work on me and I get myself together, but what do I do for my spouse, or what do I do for my children, or what do I do for coworkers? How do I deal with that? What would you tell them?
Okay, I love the question. First, I want to say that I encounter a lot of people who have been working on themselves, but very important, I guess we can say, measurement to see if you are on the right path. Because let's be honest, there are a lot of
Wow.
I am pretending I'm working on myself, and like I've read that book and I know stuff,
Yeah.
right? And this is a lot of it is not real. So I always say, results show.
Wow.
I was just talking about today, there's three people you have to listen into your life, like three people. Number one is your client. So whoever you work with, whatever, is your life purpose, whoever you serve for, listen to that people so you can be better at providing. Number two is person that has what you want, whatever is that is, right? It can be on whichever level. And then the third one is your soul, right? Like to be aligned with all that so you can do it. So many people will say, oh, I've read that, I've read that, bunch of books and documentaries, but if the results are not showing that you've been improving, then something's not working.
Wow.
So that's very important to say, because like I said, there's a lot of people out there who's been working on themselves for so long, but there's like nothing to show.
Wow.
And then I get that question a lot because I work with mothers, and then, they want to do so much for their husbands. They want to do so much for the kids. And the only thing I can say is be the example that they need.
All right.
I always say also a bunch of things I say, right? Apparently, um, you can never change a person, but you can influence them.
Come on.
And the only thing is, again, by being that example, majority of people will not listen to advices. They will definitely not listen to unsolicited advices.
Right.
And we want to, and we are so eager and so passionate. I want to tell you what I know. Please listen to me. I've done it. I've done it. And I've done this for years and years, and I've killed myself on the way. And, the value and the knowledge was never accepted or even appreciated. And I had to stop. And then, it comes to, oh, I'm selfish. Yes, I'm actually selfish. You know why? Because I can only change myself. I can't do anything else. So for those who are ready, I'm going to be like a 24/7 support. But if you're not ready, you have your own path, you have your own, karma, God connection. So this is something that you will have to walk.
Wow, I love that. I love that, and I think it's definitely something that had to be said. And you spoke clearly too, because we both know that oftentimes as women, this is sometimes something that's a thing that we struggle with. That even once we start to get better, then we want to shape and mold the other person.
Fix
We want to
everything.
fix
Right.
everybody else, right?
Right.
And we don't think about or fully comprehend the idea of what you just said. And I
It's
love it
beautiful.
that we can't change anyone, but we can
I
influence
love
them. And when we're reminded of that and we start paying attention to the fact that the way they see us getting better is going to influence them getting better. When your children, when your spouse sees you operating out of an inner peace, then that's influencing them to do the same. When they see that you are reading the books or going to the conferences and they see your responses are changing, or the way you are controlling your emotions now, and you're properly communicating with them, and they see all of these changes actively in your life, then you can influence them. Because you were saying something, and I was thinking while you were talking, you were saying we always, we want to change a person, and we say all these things, give advice, even if it's unsolicited. But the best advice we could ever give someone is our actions. If we show them that we're working to get better and to be better, and then our responses and our actions are better, then it will influence the situation. I was talking to a group of women the other day, and I said that we have to remember that we are the thermostat. So we get to set the temperature, we get to set the atmosphere for where we are. And if we're, out, we're not controlling our emotions, and we're all over the place, and we're kind of setting that atmosphere and not understanding that that's going to come back to us, that's manifesting and coming back to us. So if we control the temperature and keep everything peaceful, you said that inner peace, you talked about that inner peace, and if we keep that inner peace and understand that at the end of the day it's going to all work out, God has already given me everything I need, we can get through this situation, we can get through this circumstance, we can come to an agreement, or even if we don't, we can agree to disagree, everything is going to be okay. And you stay operating in that peaceful place, then things around you will become more peaceful, because someone won't continue to be agitated and arguing with somebody that's not doing it back to them.
It always comes back to work on yourself. And I'm going to say this because whatever the relationship was, your partner is your mirror. So whatever happened because you attracted that.
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
So now you want to go back into the same vicious circle in the future, or you want to level up.
Wow.
And the only way to level up is to really, really see what was happening, that you were in that relationship, and why did you even get there, right? And how to get out so you can attract a better quality person.
Wow. Oh man.
That's
Wow.
a very short answer, but
That is
that's
good.
it. That's
That is
it.
good.
I'm over here and I'm like, wow, because all I hear that you just said is self-evaluate.
Yeah.
Like
Everything.
self-evaluate.
Everything is
Yep.
self-evaluate.
Always.
Yeah.
You remembering that we bear a responsibility to everything that we're
Well,
experiencing.
well, really, that's the thing, because I mean, even saying
Yeah.
that, say we bear responsibility,
Mhm.
but the truth of the matter is, I mean, we bear full responsibility, in our own
Mhm.
lives. And I mean, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is awesome. This is awesome. And this is something, I mean, each and every one of us, because it's so easy. It's so easy. I mean, even, I mean, some of us may have trauma in our childhoods and things
Yep.
like that. And it's like, although that happened to you, although, mom was on drugs, or dad was an alcoholic, or whatever the case may be, or your father wasn't there, or,
And those are the obvious ones. There's
yeah,
so millions of not obvious ones that you're not even
Right.
aware of. So
yes.
that's the problem when it comes, because many people work on themselves, but when you are inside your framework, right? Or we call it put your lens on, this is the way you know the world. That's not the only version.
Yeah.
So now to completely
Wow.
Whoa.
shed yourself of everything that you've ever known or experienced, and basically, like I always talk about computers to make it a little bit more tangible and understanding. You have a computer with certain programs. Now, if I have MP3, I can never, I don't know, MP3 player, I can't watch a movie on my computer. And yet the whole life I've been dying to watch a movie. So what I got to do is, completely,
Mm.
I don't know, delete, restore, put new programs on,
Wow.
update my programs and all
Upgrade.
that. So the funny thing is, right now, this is the problem, because again, many people work on their issues, but there's so many things you don't know that you need to work on because
Yes.
of that perspective. And
Yes.
that's why I'm always going to come down to get help. And I'm not going to say, and I personally, look, if therapy works, amazing. I don't even agree with therapy that much, because I believe in coaching so much more, because I've experienced and I know what coaching does to you.
Absolutely.
And I've known, a lot of different stories. But yeah, get somebody who can take you out of the scenario that you're in and start completely opening new doors, new perspectives to you. So you will be more, I don't know, it's just open your eyes from very, very different points of view, and you are seeing the picture clearer. And then when you are able to see those sabotaging programs that you have,
Mm.
that you were not even aware of
Mm.
before.
Wow.
So that's the tricky part.
Yeah,
You
wow.
just, yeah, you just said something and I had to write it down.
Oh
You
man.
said the way you know the world is not the only way it is. And as
Exactly.
soon as you said that, the only thing I could think about is our perspective.
Wow.
And when we're
Exactly.
not, oh, you also said about being open. When we're not open and we only see the world from our perspective, it
Mm-hmm.
causes us to have other challenges. And I fully agree, for the coaching, because I believe that, the whole time we've been talking, you're definitely in coach mode, because you're like, we always got to go back to self.
Yeah.
Go back to self. What part
You
did you
you know,
play? What is your
just last
responsibility?
just
Yeah.
last week, my clients came to me, and I work with women mainly, but then husbands kind of like jump in and start listening to my stuff if they're open to it, they do it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, she just said, and like the best testimonial I got from her, she was like, "Oh my God, we just realized how much work we got to do," and I'm like, yeah, you got so much work to do with yourself. You don't have time to think about what your
Mm.
neighbor's talking or what they're doing or
Mhm.
what is society saying or what's in the news and
Yeah.
whatever, because you got so much work with yourself that if you
Oh,
just focus on that,
yes.
the life, everything gets better.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's enough to keep us busy right there.
Oh,
Uh,
believe me.
listen, audience, it's time to upgrade. Upgrade yourself. I
Absolutely.
love it. I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, this has definitely been awesome. Anya, we definitely are excited that you are here with us tonight and you shared nugget after nugget after nugget with the TMC listeners. And
Wow.
I hope everyone walks away from this podcast feeling different, being able to take a look at self, to be responsible for self, to work on yourself, to focus on that inner peace. And we've given Anya has given us practical steps to use on tonight. She's given us practical steps for us to incorporate into our
Mm.
lives.
Yeah.
And we can use these things to take our relationships. And we always like to say here on TMC that all the information we shared, all the information Anya shared tonight is not just for a male to female relationship. It's for
Everything.
Of course.
relationships, period.
General. Yeah.
Because we're in relationships with many people, our parents, our kids, our co-workers. We're in relationships, and working on yourself will take these relationships from surviving to thriving. I love it.
Exactly. The funny thing is there's no stop. There's no end. Like no matter how good you think you are, you don't know what you don't know.
Mm.
So if you are thirsty about, really leveling up on all of your fields, like you got so much that you can do, so much work. And when we think about, we got what, 80 years, like maybe,
Yeah.
there's so little, but yet so much you can do.
Mm.
So if you like, I was a person who was always thirsty of doing everything. I've been a hectic and active kid, and I've done all the hobbies, and I've traveled the world, and I've lived in China, and I've done whatever you can think of. I've done it probably. I've always gave myself huge goals, like learning Mandarin. Who learns Mandarin, right? And stuff like that, feeling like, oh, I'm gonna feel fulfilled now because I've achieved something. And it never gave me any satisfaction until I started working with myself and seeing me now and me 10 years ago, two different lifetime, stories. That is the biggest satisfaction that you can get in life. And
Yeah.
again, that keeps you so busy and so satisfied at the same time that you don't need anything else.
That's that's
You
just
said a mouthful. You could
a
travel the
mouthful.
world. You can learn all the languages. You
Because
can do,
people love
New
yeah,
people
value.
love to change houses and
Yeah.
change
change on the outside.
New clothes.
Hmm.
New
yes, they're
clothes.
Change on
thinking
the
the
outside.
environment and
Mhm.
whatnot is happening and influencing them, and yeah, on some level they are, but it's never as fulfilling when you know, open yourself up to yourself and, you know, keep on upgrading that. And then you achieve stuff, then you're like, oh my God, like how amazed I am by myself, or, you know, what I've done with myself. And that's the biggest and the best satisfaction. And then, of course, as you are a mother, you want your kids, you know, like this is a very common issue that I have. Mothers will do everything for their kids, but they don't do it for themselves. So how can you even pass on this bliss if you don't know what it is?
Wow.
You've never experienced it. So you cannot even be happy for the kids to be experiencing bliss if that ever happens, because you've never experienced how amazing that is for you. So again, we're back to being the example.
Thing leads back to you.
Everything leads back to you all the time. So yeah, when you want, if you're, you know, single, you know, want to get married, well, firstly, of course, you need to have goals and, you know, what you want to get clear and very determined with yourself. But then constant growth. What else? What else? What else about me? Because again, we have so much stuff inside us that we need to overcome to achieve thriving levels of whatever, you know, areas in life. And all the thing is, you have to be better than you were yesterday. That's it. You.
Wow. This has been awesome. Anya, we thank you
Oh,
for joining us tonight. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
If someone wants to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
Instagram, I would say Instagram. Yeah. So my Instagram handle, goddessenergy.coach. I am there. This is what I do. And, you know, Clubhouse, I'm always there as well.
Absolutely. This has been amazing. Anya, we thank you for joining us. We thank you for sharing with the TMC listeners. And we know that they will be better for everything that you shared and poured into us on tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And yes, I do hope, you know, it changes somebody's life.
Absolutely. And we have to be able to look at ourselves. Anya said it.
It's a hard thing to
Self-evaluate.
do, and I
Self-evaluate.
think that's why a lot
That's
of
the
us.
hardest thing for us.
I think
to
that's why a
do.
lot of us are going through this revolving
And that's
door
what she
and this
said.
roller coaster ride, because we tend to do the same thing over and over again. And she said it. She said it perfectly when she said we tell ourselves. It's like we really lie to ourselves and say we change, we develop. And I mean, you can read a book, but I mean, like one of the quotes that I love, knowledge without application is meaningless. I mean, it means nothing. I mean, you can read all the books, you can read your Bible, you can study from Genesis to Revelation, but if you're not applying any of that, it's not doing you any good. And I believe a lot more people than not does this say, okay, I'm growing, I'm developing, I'm reading this, or people think because I go to a seminar or I go to this conference, or I go to this marriage conference, or I'm on Clubhouse, you know, that I'm really, you know, but it's like, okay,
I'm learning,
you're getting all this information.
Still just surviving.
Still surviving. This is awesome, man. I really thank Anya for that awesome,
absolutely
awesome information that she shared with us.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of TMC. And if you did, go ahead and subscribe, like, and leave a comment. If you're listening on iTunes, rate the podcast and leave a review. Head on over to our leadership podcast, Lead to Greatness, where my husband is interviewing entrepreneurs and great leaders every week.
So we want to thank you for joining us today on TMC. Looking forward to hanging out with you again on next week as we continue to help you take your relationship from surviving to thriving. Bye. See you next week.